Hello and welcome everybody to New Earth Consciousness. Tanya here with Cathy Handford. Cathy, welcome. Thank you for being here. So Cathy is a spiritual teacher, theta healing instructor, energy healer, and animal communicator. And she works through You to Shine as the Nature Me coach, where she teaches theta healing classes and her original course, The Seven Sacred Flames of the Holy Spirit, which we'll definitely dive into that. And she offers private healing sessions and animal communications work and engages in guided earth healing initiatives focused on clearing and balancing energy in the areas of global crisis and anchoring higher states of unity consciousness. And her work centers on helping individuals awaken their intuitive gifts and embody greater love, clarity, and spiritual mastery in everyday life. So, Cathy, I'm excited to get into our conversation here. What I find really interesting about you is that you were involved in the aerospace industry, and then you had this spiritual awakening in 2020. And so I'm curious about what that looked like for you.
So, well, that could be a long story all by itself. But yes, I was an executive in the aerospace industry for over 35 years. I had my own company, the last 10 consulting. It was called Cyber Business Development Associates, and I was doing a lot of mergers and acquisitions work. I also had a farm out in the country, and I was raising horses, and I had chickens and cats and dogs and donkey. It was the whole thing. And but there came a time where I really felt strongly guided to move to Fredericksburg, where my sister lives. And it had also gotten to be a situation where I was now by myself at my farm, and it was a little much for me to take care of by myself. And so I decided to move to Fredericksburg. And I can remember um, just saying to my sister, I have no idea why I'm doing this, but I know I'm supposed to. And she's like, I know, I know. Anyway, the house that I
Interesting.
moved into turned out to be haunted. And um, and the ghost was not very happy about me being here because his family had moved out. He had died in the house, and his family had moved out.
Uh-huh.
And I was looking for help to help me solve this issue. So my painter at the time said, "Well, I know this person, da 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 da. She's a theta healer. She's knows how to send, what we call waywards or ghosts to the light. And maybe I could put you in touch with her." So I said, "Great." And anyway, I got in touch with her. Her name was Tracy, and she did. And then things got worse.
Wow.
And and she said, "Well, I don't know what's happening here, but Victoria Rader, who's was her teacher and mentor, she would know what to do." And so I ended up talking with Victoria. Victoria did help me out. She also taught me, even in the first hour, how to protect myself, how to send other entities to the light if I needed to. Um, it was just very, very interesting. I was fascinated and hooked. And it just so happened that she was starting a new series of classes with basic DNA theta healing class. And then there's just a progression. And as you progress, we get into 2 week long classes and 3 week long classes. But because I was in the mergers and acquisitions business
Hmm.
with COVID, this is 2020, there was a lockdown. And so, and nobody, the investors, the uncertainty with the investors, they just weren't buying other companies. And so all of a sudden, I had a lot of free time and could take all the classes and also spend a lot of time in meditation.
Mm.
And it was through the set of classes that I took that my spiritual gifts started to really open up. So,
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, ghosts are definitely real. I've had my experiences with them as well. They can be um I mean, they're harmless in a way, but they're just kind of they can be I don't know what's the word, just bug you, like they don't want to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
in.
Well, alarms that weren't even hooked up were going off in the middle of the
Yeah,
night. I was getting shocked every time I touched a light switch. There was so much stuff going on
yeah.
that the circuit board in my house blew.
Wow.
There was that much activity. It took $4,000 to replace it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was serious. Yeah, there was a lot more than things going bump in the night at that
Yeah,
time. But it also made it real clear to me if it that the unseen world
yeah,
exists
yeah,
and touches our world,
yeah,
and I wanted to learn about it.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
just
So there's a lot for us to dive into here. So I might just jump around, but I'd love for you to speak about the Earth grid work, and your experience with Mount Shasta. And I have a good friend that lives there. I know Mount Shasta is a powerful vortex on the planet. Spiritual seekers and healers, and but people have had all kinds of different experiences there. Um, I'm curious yeah, if you could share that story and what drew you to Mount Shasta, what you found there when you were there. Yeah, all that
sure.
stuff.
Yeah, so as as I was spending time in 2020 meditating a lot, I was getting a lot of transmissions, or we would call them downloads from the creator about things, and was learning how to clear dark energies, whatever you
Hmm.
want to call those.
Hmm.
But how to clear the energies, how to pull in love into an area. And it had started first with my house, and then of course expanded out into my neighborhood, and then out to battlefields and so on in the
Hmm.
Fredericksburg area. There's quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually, the first actual place I was guided to go to physically was Mount Shasta. And again, I mean, I knew that Mount Shasta was the root chakra for Earth, and I knew it was a highly spiritual place, but I didn't know a lot about it. And so I started doing some research, and then it just happens it's on my desk. I picked up a book on Telos,
Uh-huh.
and which is it's essentially an inner Earth city
Mm.
that's within Telos of light beings, and there's a whole large story there, as you know. Um, but I was guided to go there, and Creator told me to stay there for 3 days. And then there 3 days around a specific date.
Hmm.
And I didn't know exactly what form the healing was going to take. I just knew I had to be there. And so I went, and each day I found a beautiful garden with the Mother Mary there, right as you go up towards the mountain.
Hmm.
And it's just a beautiful garden. I would go there every morning to just pray and meditate. And finally, on the third day, now I was leaving the next day, but on the third day, I knew that it was time to do the healing work. I knew where, I knew when, and it was right outside of the Mount Siskayu, which it turns out that chakras, earth chakras, frequently involve a body of water
Mm.
or a mountain, some kind of physical landscape kind of thing. So anyway, I was guided to do that healing, and it was clearing the root chakra, which to me looked like a huge gray dome when I meditated, a huge gray dome over the lake. And when I asked it to be sent to the light, just witnessed angels coming in and like lifting the dome and taking it into the light. And it occurred to me later that, and actually when I got into my car when I was leaving, the passenger seat started to electronically move itself, and just letting me know that I was not alone,
Mm.
and which was very interesting. But later I learned that it was 9 a.m. on the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Mm.
And I realized all that gray area was just the accumulated uncertainty and fear that was created by the event 9/11 and then the wars that followed.
Oh, wow. Hmm.
And so that was really a wonderful revelation there. And that's when I picked up a book on the seven sacred flames and started to learn about them.
Yeah, so tell us what those flames are.
The seven sacred flames of the Holy Spirit are essentially aspects of or frequencies of the Holy Spirit. You can think of the Holy Spirit as light. So you
Mm,
see in a lot of Christian artwork, there'll be the Holy Spirit is frequently represented by a flame, like a flame over their head, or a flame in the heart. And it's also, of course, represented by a dove. That would be the next most common symbol. But it's essentially a frequency of light of creation itself. And so, if you've heard of the great central sun at the center of the universe, which is a spiritual center of the universe, a center of creation, the light comes from there. And when, the very first, I was teaching about decrees last week, the very first decree was, let there be light,
mm,
and there was light.
mm,
And the the flames themselves are frequency. So the first flame is the royal blue flame of God's will. The second is the yellow flame of illumination. The third is the pink flame of cosmic love. And those three flames together are called the trifold or threefold flame. You'll see them together. But those, God's will, the illumination of wisdom and understanding of God's will,
mm,
um, and the and cosmic love anchor essentially one's path to ascension. And so the next ray, ray four, is the white ray of ascension. Everyone's born with the trifold flame in their heart. And
mm,
so we're all on a path to ascension. But it's also learning to use and understand the virtues and the qualities of those flames and learn to embody them in your life that really puts you on that path. And then the next three flames I think of as fruits of being on that path. The fourth flame or the fifth flame is healing. It's the emerald green light of healing. And that's frequently associated with Raphael.
mm,
But also, all of these flames have ascended masters that embody the flames fully and tend them on earth, archangels and Elohim, which I think of as creator angels, really. They're involved in creation using the light.
mhm,
Um, so the fifth one is the emerald green flame. And then there's the next one is the ruby gold flame that is of resurrection and renewal.
mm,
And the last is the violet flame, the last and the most popular because it's associated with the age of Aquarius, is the violet flame of Saint Germain.
mhm,
And so Saint Germain is the ascended master that is really tends that flame for Earth.
mm. I see.
So yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess the question that's coming through right now is, it seems to me that there's sort of this intensity that is now sort of like the light versus the dark. We're seeing a lot of, unveiling of, maybe the distortions that have been held within the grid, or just just so many things. Like even right now, I guess in Mexico, there's these the this battle between the Mexican government and the cartels, right? and
Yeah. Yeah.
and so it just seems like, wow, like there's been sort of this relentless, well, really since definitely strongly since COVID. It's like we've just been like bombarded one thing after another of different events happening on the planet. And um, I'm curious if you've have any insights as to what's happening and how can someone, um, I guess, not be sort of knocked off center by everything that's happening, at least on the 3D level.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. So I forgot to put the dots, first of all, to connect the dots between, I realized at some point I was using the seven sacred flames to do the earth healing work.
Mm, hmm.
And that's how we connected the dots. But the earth healing work progressed over time. So we've basically been doing this for 5 years, and over time, other people have been invited in to join me on certain cases. And um, so we've been around the world several times. And in each time, for me anyway, for the other people, they went as guided as they were guided. But for me, it was the rhythm we established in clearing the dark energies and then bringing in the different lights for healing and cosmic love and so on, and transmutation, which is the violet flame. And anyway, so over time, though, the earth healing work has progressed, and there was a very definitive change that started really in 2025, in September 2025, where I was aware of essentially a still point. We had reached a still point cosmically. And it is really I'm sure other people have looked at that and can define it, but it was really a point where I think that the pendulum of the balance between the divine masculine and feminine,
Hmm.
well, we'd gotten to a point where we were at the top of the shadow masculine,
Hmm.
really.
Hmm.
And now the divine feminine is beginning to push the pendulum back, which will pull us into an age of really, I mean, ultimately an age of Christ consciousness. But there was a real sea change in September of 2025. And then it became clear that we were getting lots of help.
Hmm.
We were getting help from Inner Earth. We were getting help from, starseed nations. We were getting help from, obviously angels and ascended masters and
Hmm.
so many light beings that were coming in to help Earth because this is Earth's ascension. I mean, it's humanity's ascension, but Earth's going to ascend whether we do or not.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that definitely many times. It's just kind of like, yeah, we're either going to be in alignment with her or we'll get taken care of, so to
Yeah,
so to
well,
speak,
I
right?
think we'll be given a choice.
Right.
It's like you can stay here and work with Earth, or you can go somewhere else or do something else,
Yeah.
We're all eternal beings. Um, so it'll be a choice point as to what we want to do, and we can choose to stay. And but back to the kind of the story. So the
Yeah.
light and all the help was coming in. Also in 2025, I was guided to start working with water and really having conversations with the element of water. And I was guided months before I had the first conversation because I'm like, really? Water? I'm going to talk with water. Well, when I did, it was so easy. It was just so easy to connect and have that conversation. And I'll explain how water fits into this in just a second. But I remember after the first conversation going outside, and it was pretty much a cloudless sky, but one little cloud kind of came over, and right over me, the rain came like little kisses on my skin.
Hmm.
And this was in the summertime, so I could just feel it. And it was just beautiful. I knew it was a thank you. Um, but the water has been absorbing light codes that have been coming in from our sun, from suns all around the galaxies as they come into Earth, from the beings that are magnifying the light for us. And so it's been absorbing those light codes the light codes activate our spiritual DNA,
Mm-hmm.
which the scientists considered the junk
Oh, right.
DNA.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So, yeah. So so water itself has taken on a role starting in December of 2025 of several waves of emanations of these light codes coming out in and spreading around Earth. And there were three waves in 2025. And also in Earth healing, it started changing in that we were um, asked to go around and start thanking. So instead of quote healing work around the earth, we're
Mm-hmm.
asked to go thank all the different beings that were helping us, and got a chance to really go to these different starseed nations to thank them. And I had two other people with me at that point, so they also experienced what I experienced and had a chance to really feel the differences in their vibration. Set that aside for now. But to answer your question, those those emanations and all the help we've been getting in 2025 is helping us to anchor in a spiritual vibration and movement for those who feel it right now. And the chaos in the world is, I feel, it's like the last gasp of the shadow masculine
Mm-hmm.
trying to stay in power.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much of the shadow masculine that are in charge of nations all around the earth. I mean, it's not just, one place. I mean, it's all over.
Yeah.
So so I feel like it's the last gasp of that kind of chaos, but also Earth herself has some pressure to release. And so there will be feeling some physical pressure being released, um, through volcanic activity, through earthquakes and those kinds of things over the next several years. It might get worse
Yeah.
before it gets better. In fact, probably sure it will get worse before it gets better,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it will get better.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. And I guess, um, yeah, as far as, I guess, again, coming back to, because I feel like most people struggle with staying in their peace and staying in their, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
not letting themselves be affected by the chaos. I feel like at least, you know, um, that's what I hear a lot of is just like, oh my gosh, how do we how do we navigate this time? And I feel like um, there's a lot of, I mean, how can we stay connected to our faith, to our connection with the light, with the divine, with love? Like, what are some practices that you can recommend so that we can, stay in alignment with Earth's evolution? Like, if those of us that are like, no, please take us with you wherever you're going,
Right, right.
how do we stay in alignment? Because there is definitely, there is this tug and this inner pull. It's like, at least I feel it. It's like, and I think we touched on this last time. It's like, I think we all deep down know that, oh yes, of course, you know, uh, just, eating organic and, trying not to buy things in plastic and, all these sort of practical things. And yet there's also, um, we're still kind of entangled with the old paradigm, with having to earn a living and having to pay your bills, and all the things that we know that we wish we didn't have to do. We wish that we didn't have to pay taxes to the government. We wish that we could just free ourselves. I mean, in fact, I was in a women's circle yesterday. It was really actually, and I'm glad she said it. She says, "Can I just," she sort of just said, "Can I name the elephant in the room of just like, capitalism kind of just being this thing that, has us kind of, tethered, and not and sort of causing a lot of distress. So I'm just wondering, like, what do you see as far as like what are some good practices that we can um, sort of weather the storm, I guess, and stay in alignment.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I have one really easy thing. Turn off the news.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, turn it off. I had to at some point. And I used to be, especially when I was in the aerospace industry, and I was a news junkie. I mean,
Mhm.
just always was watching the news. I'd wake up to the news. I'd come home and turn the news on.
Mhm.
Um, and I realized at some point that it was really dragging me down.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was really dragging me down. And so I literally just do not watch it anymore. Now I want to keep up with things. So I do listen to a podcast or two in the morning as I'm walking my dogs just to kind of catch up on what's going on. But it's a fairly short, here's the facts, ma'am,
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of thing. And so I feel like I can keep up without having to get into the drama of it.
Yeah.
So it's separating ourselves from the drama of what's going on. My mentor, Victoria Rader, who I mentioned before,
Mhm.
she has, and I think it's also universally said, what you resist persists.
Right.
And so in the world right now, throwing out the resistance to all, the chaos is ultimately going to lead to change, which ultimately gives us the opportunity, those of us, all of us representing divine feminine and divine masculine energies, to rise up and begin to be, some of us will be called, of course, to service within the governments,
Mhm.
whatever
Mhm.
whatever it turns out to be. Um, but in general, I think that it's helpful to just spend a little bit of time in stillness each day. I mean, even if it's only a few minutes,
Mhm.
just take a few minutes for yourself, light a candle, and just spend a few minutes in stillness and send love.
Mhm.
And actually, a really cool thing I learned about water. So if you send love to the clouds above you, those clouds will eventually fill and will rain somewhere else. And
Mhm.
so the love that you send to the water in the clouds above you will be distributed somewhere else. And so I love to go outside and just send love to the clouds, just
Yeah.
wondering where the rain's going to end up. And yet that love eventually ends up in the ocean, which eventually then, it gets spread out. But really, the number one thing we can do as spiritual people in this age is to send love
Mhm.
out into the world. That is the number one thing we can do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just in the stillness of time. And and I think that that's giving yourself that time to turn off all the devices,
Mhm. Mhm.
all the squeaking, things. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
of course nature.
Nature, of course, nature always. Nature wins. Always.
Nature wins. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you said that because I think that, the news and everything else, media wants to, it's just very disempowering, right? And so we forget that we're actually created by God, by the Creator. We are divine. We are more powerful than we realize. And I agree, the resisting or pushing against something just amplifies and intensifies the battle energy. It's like, I'm gonna resist. Okay, well, let's just, and so that's what we're seeing. And it's like, okay, instead of resisting or getting angry or pushing against something. It's like sending love, just
Send
sending
love to
love,
it.
sending love, sending love. It's like, um, yeah, it's so powerful. I mean, love really does heal ultimately. It's such a powerful force, and we have that inside. We come from love, so I think that's yeah, that's such a very powerful statement for us to remember. Um, and then I'm curious about so the animal communication. So I feel like everything you're speaking to, it's almost like it just seems that everything that is of nature is awake, the water, the trees, the earth, ourselves, like we are there's a vibrancy, there's an aliveness, there's a wakefulness and a relationship that we have with everything, and it's not inert. It's not, I think we've been living in this paradigm of seeing nature as something separate. Animals as things that we're supposed to dominate and control and just utilize for our benefit. That's kind of been the attitude, right? And so we're kind of, now I'm seeing more and more that we're shifting into realizing, like, oh, everything has consciousness and everything is awake. And I remember this one story a friend of mine told me. This woman, she was visiting the giant sequoias in California, and there was a zip line, and I guess one of the big trees had to be cut to create this platform for this zip line. And she was this she was not a new agey person. She was very much a devout Christian, not into, and she had this experience of being on that platform, and the tree communicating with her that it was very sad that this had been done to it so that this zip line could be created. And to me, it just seems like, wow, there's this thinning of the veils and sort of crack in the egg where more and more people are having these sort of interspecies uh, experiences and communications. And I know I've had a few where nature and all of its creation really does want to have a relationship with us that's based in love and not in fear. And so I'd love for you to share with us, like, what have you discovered in your work and working with animals, or even other beings, like what has come through for you?
Yeah, well, the law of oneness, that we are all one. And one way to think about that is one times one times one times one is still one. So we're all unique.
Yeah.
We can all be unique. We can all be individuals, but together we're a collective.
Mm.
And the other thing is, so I teach the theta healing classes. Um, you don't have to be specially trained to have those experiences.
Mhm.
I think that anyone can really just go out into nature and sit with a tree and just be still with the tree. And most of us start out with the gift of empathy, ability to feel what other people are feeling. Well, that
Mhm.
applies to animals. That applies actually to plants as well. And you can kind of feel into the plant and feel if it's thirsty or feel if it needs something. I had one class, I think it was the second class in the series. We have people feel into a plant and find out. And my plant was like needed to be replanted, and it was very clear that I need to be replanted. And it's interesting. So that's it's not like the people in the class had a whole lot of experience. We just told them you can.
Uh,
You can do this.
yeah.
You can do this. Everyone has the psychic gifts.
Hmm.
Everyone has them.
Yeah.
And they can be developed. And I think that that's one thing that's really important to know is that people think, well, I wasn't born psychic. Well, I wasn't
Yeah.
born psychic either. You
Right.
know what I mean? And in fact, I have quite a few friends that it's still like, nah, that's not true.
Right.
Impossible,
Right.
impossible. That
Right.
math major, no
Right.
way.
Right. Right.
And yeah, but it's possible for everyone. Now it's easier with a little specialized training, but in the training, a lot of what we're doing is just giving you permission to try something.
Right. Yeah. Right.
We're just giving you permission to, so we're saying, try this, try to tune into the angel that's sitting, behind your left shoulder. Try, and I'm saying, but I'm looking at you with the angel sitting behind your left shoulder. I mean, try to tune into the angel, try to tune into the plant, try to tune into nature.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
It just,
Yeah.
it, we can all do it.
Yeah.
We can all do
Absolutely.
it.
And I think a big the the gateway to that, or whatever you want to call it, or opening up to that, really, I feel, is just slowing down. We are all, people, just the daily pressures of life, and myself included, find myself kind of rushing around and trying to accomplish things. And it's like, well, really, the in the slowing down and tuning in, right? Then that's where we start to become aware, more aware of the subtleties of what's always here, Like you said, we're all psychic, but if we're always busy and spinning in our heads, obsessed with our thinking and our to-do list and everything, then we're not looking in the right direction. We're like so focused on this, but there's this whole, realm that is available to us. And it seems like you said, if we just sit in stillness every day, then we can tune into those subtleties and reconnect with life, really. It's kind of what it boils down to, right?
Yeah.
Becoming more sensitive and aware.
I and it is daunting because a lot of people, a lot of us, I know I did it. We stay busy so that we can avoid feeling the feelings
Mm,
that we're feeling.
yeah.
So whether it's fear, fear of relationships about to break up, fear that your elderly parent's gonna die, fear of whatever the situation is, that you're not going to be well received when you give this next presentation or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, we stay busy so that we can avoid feeling how we're actually feeling. And yet, it's when you stop that you can actually tune into your heart and begin to center yourself. And so, and so I would say to people out there, don't be afraid to take time, allow yourself to feel the feelings, and then let those feelings pass through you and tune into your heart space and tune into the love that is just there for you.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
And I think I'd like to add one thing that I think is really important too. Um, in this time, there's so many spiritual disciplines and so many, you know,
Yeah.
it's easy to get into a trap of just seeking the next thing.
Right. Right.
Again, it's sort of in that same idea of staying busy. It's like, well, I'm going to try, this Reiki thing next, or I'm going to try the body code next, or and all of these disciplines do have merit.
Yeah.
But any discipline that isn't telling you to be still and to check in with your own heart and to seek the truth within,
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hear that inner voice, that intuition, which is your higher self. Anything that's not telling you to seek within is just grabbing your money. Really.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
really.
it's kind of like I feel a modality is sort of like, okay, here are the training wheels, or here's a method that you can practice, like a doorway that can help you connect.
Yeah.
And and then it's kind of like once you sort of master that, then you begin to realize like, oh, um, to not identify with the modality, right? Like there's because I imagine that, your journey in theta healing, right? Like, okay, here was the doorway and you had all these experiences, and then you realize like once you discover who you are and what's available, then there's like um there's really there's so much more. Like you realize like, oh, okay, I it's really about who you are and who you're being rather than just the modality. Does that
Oh,
make sense?
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And my point was not because I agree with you in that all these different modalities have something to offer you,
Yeah.
in that they are offering you permission in a way to try something
Yeah.
and to try tuning into your spiritual self. But the answers that you're looking for are always going to be within inside you.
Mm.
And so if you're looking for the answers, it's not in the next modality, although you might learn some new tricks.
Yeah.
But it's that's kind of what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
comparing spiritual tourism is what
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
call
It's
it.
kind of
Yeah.
like spiritual materialism is another word for it. It's like, yeah, you don't need to gather all these trophies or modalities or these shiny objects, because it's really the modalities the aren't the goalposts, it's like they're just tools, and so ultimately it's to we're all seeking liberation essentially. It's like don't get trapped in the because the modalities can also become the doing, right? Of just being stuck in the doing. Well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and it's like no, 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 no. You can just be, and awaken, to all of it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, the answers are not external. They're all internal.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, and it's the recognition of the soul in the other person. So forgiveness is really important. Forgiveness is such a key, and gratitude, obviously.
Mm,
But forgiveness is really, really key. And I remember, well, it wasn't long ago, I was, um, asking that people could see the the soul in the other people. In other words,
mm,
especially soldiers on the side of the war, that
mm,
they could see that there's a person
mm,
on the other side and see them as a human, as a person, as a whole thing, and not just as something to shoot at.
mm, mhm,
Because, in war, unfortunately, they're forced to vilify the other side in such a way that they could actually shoot at them.
mhm,
And when I was witnessing that that healing in a sense, it was like all the soldiers were given a mirror
mm,
so that when they were looking at the other, they could see the reflection of themselves in the other person.
mhm. Yeah.
And I think that's really important right now. I mean, there's so much
Yeah.
conflict within the US, even where, let's just say the Democrats, say the Republicans are evil, the Republicans say the Democrats are evil, and we're all throwing that term around, evil.
Mhm.
Well, there are things that are evil, but it's not a Democrat or a
Yeah,
Republican.
right. It's not
I
right.
mean, really. So, but it's by labeling
Yeah.
each other that way that we're not seeing our reflection in the other human.
Hmm.
We're not, we're trying to dehumanize in a way.
Yeah.
I think we actually in our first conversation we talked about the them.
Oh, right. That's right. We did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like us or them, and the
Yeah.
them is doing this to me, or the them is doing that. Well, the them, is you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kathy, where are you headed to next?
Um, well, right now, really, the focus is on the seven sacred flames of the Holy Spirit, just getting that course out.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in doing that. I'm also interested in exploring working with nonverbal autistic children
Mm-hmm.
because with telepathy, it is possible for me to have a conversation with with an autistic child, with where their parents maybe can't. But what was really interesting, so I've been working with one family, is I started to teach the family how to communicate to the child
Mm-hmm.
by sending them pictures of what they wanted
Mm. Uh-huh.
and then just tuning in and making a request. And we tried it a couple of times with this one particular nonverbal child, and she would invite him in to do something specific that's only known to the two of them. It's like a special kiss they had.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught her to visualize that and send it to him. And he came right in and did that very special kiss.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
So I know there's real ground there. I mean, I feel like autism has been labeled like again something other,
Yeah.
something we don't understand, something we're afraid of, and yet I feel like they're operating at a higher level than we are. They're
Mm-hmm.
actually operating at a higher level than we are.
Yeah.
And there's nonverbal children are not stupid. They're
Right.
just nonverbal.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just
Exactly.
nonverbal
Yeah.
and they can
Wouldn't it be
communicate with
nice if
each
a lot of
other.
us were more nonverbal,
Yeah,
to be
yeah. Yeah,
honest?
well, actually, in the coming golden age, I think that most of us will be speaking with each other through telepathy.
Yeah, I
We'll
agree with
all be
you
using
100%.
telepathy.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And so I would really like to go down that path and spend a little more time
Yeah.
working with the children. So I would love to teach them how to communicate with animals.
Mm.
Think of how that would open their world because
Oh,
they
yeah.
already have the telepathy. They talk to each other all the time via
Yeah.
telepathy.
Yeah.
But, they if they could learn again, be given permission to talk to an animal, they
Mhm.
would find out that they could have that connection with the animals around them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That is
so many
very
things
cool.
to do,
So
right?
many, yeah, really. I mean, truthfully, it's like, I feel like, um, again, where your attention goes, energy flows. So if we could, again, turn off the TV, it doesn't mean that we stick our head in the sand, but really like, what are we choosing to cultivate? There's so much available to us. So much is given, literally just given to us. If we could just, seize the opportunity and accept the invitation to explore what does it really mean to be human at this time. We are so much more than these bodies, and we're not just the mind. Like there's so much, really so much joy and wonder that is available to us to experience. And I just appreciate you, Kathy, for um, answering the call. I mean, what a what do you call it? I don't know, a big 180 away
It,
from aerospace. I don't even
yeah.
know what that world looks like, but it sounds very intense to just this, following your bliss and yeah, I just feel your heart and your authenticity and your devotion to the work that you do, and just devotion to the earth and humanity and the angelic realms. And yeah, and so I invite everybody that's listening to this, please, check out Kathy's website. She's got a lot of interesting things going on. And yeah, Kathy, is there anything else you want to share before we sign off?
I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity. I really just felt a real synergy with you when we first talked, and even when I was first reading about you. And so I just really appreciate this time that you've taken to spend with me. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. All right, everybody, please like, share, and subscribe, and have a beautiful rest of your day.